What is a fact that you learned in grade school that has been disproven? Komodo dragon bites were deadly due to high concentrations of bacteria, not venom. Turns out that they are, in fact, venomous. I was told there's no such fish as an alligator gar when I chose it for a report. The teacher refused to let me look it up on the internet, very early at the time, and untrustworthy, or encyclopedia, would take too long. So she asked the kid in the room who was known for being into animals. He had never heard of it, so it couldn't possibly exist. I will never not be salty about this. When I was little, I was taught about the brontosaurus, mighty long-necked plant eater of the dinosaurs. Later, I was taught that, whoops, they accidentally stuck some random bones together and there was never any such animal. Later still, I recall hearing that, oh, actually, there was a brontosaurus after all. Or was there? To this day, I am still, as a 42-year-old man, unclear on whether or not there was ever such a thing as a brontosaurus. When I was in junior high in the mid-80s, our earth science textbooks had continental drift, and our teacher said, okay, so I need you to ignore all of chapter 4, or whatever it was. Plate tectonics has been the accepted theory taught in colleges for 10 years now, but K-8 textbooks haven't caught up yet. I feel like the version of plate tectonics I learned was a tiny bit garbled compared to what kids learned 10 years later, but my teacher was directly pulling from college texts and published scientific papers and distilling it down for 6th graders, so more power to her. The taste bud zones thing. That as a kid, strangers were going to constantly offer you drugs. Thank you, DARE program. Humans are the only animals that use tools. Where did we end up on "you can see the Great Wall from space"? Because at different points, that was both true and definitely disproven in various textbooks I had. Gum doesn't sit in your system for 7 years. That you can see the Great Wall from space. It's long, not wide. If you can't see a highway from space, what makes you think you can see the Great Wall? I remember learning that MSG, sodium glutamate, was really bad for you. It was one of those things I heard both at school and in my family, to the point where we wouldn't buy any product that had MSG in the ingredients. There have been multiple studies showing no evidence of adverse health effects from MSG. There is a subset of people that report hypersensitivity to it. But in double-blind experiments, their symptoms tend not to show up when they don't know they've eaten it. Conversely, their symptoms do show up when they think they've eaten it but haven't actually. Conclusion: MSG is literally just salt and glutamate protein, which is separately in just about everything you eat anyway. Asterisk edited missing word. We were taught that Rosa Parks didn't get up from her seat because she just got tired one day, that the entire action was the spontaneous action of a lone woman. In fact, the entire thing was scripted and choreographed. While Parks was a seamstress, she was also the secretary to the president of the local NAACP chapter. She was recreating the protest done by Claudette Colvin. The NAACP wanted Parks to recreate it because Colvin was very dark-complected and a single mother. The NAACP thought Parks, who was lighter-skinned, would appeal to white audiences seeing this on TV. Regardless of the source, anything on the internet was considered to not be a valid reference. In the early 80s we were told that we would soon use the metric system in the US. Still waiting. We had lessons on how to get out of quicksand at school. I have no doubt that the method is valid, but the disproven bit for me is the need to know how to get out of quicksand. It really isn't an issue. In a similar vein, we had a lot of education about stranger danger. Again, not disproven. But much more valid would have been education about how much child abuse and abduction is committed by someone known to the victim. Australia's Most Wanted had me petrified to look out the window at night. Turns out the dangerous person wasn't lurking outside waiting to get in. He was a member of my family. Tongue maps. I was taught that in college you will spend all of your study time in a library reading and researching using books and reference catalogs. The internet was evil and full of lies, and not a valid resource for academic research. Blood is blue in your veins and only turns red when you bleed BC of oxygen. Back in my day, Pluto was still a planet. That carrots make your eyesight better. This was in the early 90s. The food pyramid. Though we won't be walking around with a calculator in our pockets. The entire food pyramid. Edit for clarification, I'm referring to the old 90s food pyramid that has been long abandoned for unhealthy portions of unhealthy foods. Turns out that my mum is actually not so fat that every time she turns around it's her birthday. Pluto was a planet also that random people would give me free drugs. Eggs are bad because of cholesterol. The fact that someone will try to pressure me to smoke or do drugs often. I feel more peer pressured into drinking oat milk or not eating meat than I do doing drugs. That men have one less rib than women face with rolling eyes. You'll use cursive forever.